I returned home for Christmas. The house was deserted save for Grandma eating leftovers. A note read, "Used up your $10,000 loan on a family cruise. Look after her." Grandma whispered, "We'll handle this." I only nodded. 4 days later they were begging. You know that feeling? The one where your whole future hinges on a single, fragile thread? Well, imagine finding out that thread wasn't just cut, it was stolen, by the very people who were supposed to protect you. My own family went on a Caribbean cruise with my last semester's nursing school money, and what happened next? What the hell happened next changed everything. My name is Rosalind, and I was 28, just 3 months away from graduating nursing school. 3 grueling, exhausting, financially stretching months. I drove 6 hours home for Christmas, my car packed with gifts I'd carefully chosen and wrapped. I was so excited. But when I pulled up to the house, something felt off. Eerily quiet. No twinkling lights, no inflatable reindeer, no familiar chaos. Just darkness. Inside, it was even worse. The house was bare, no decorations, no scent of pine or cookies. Just Grandma Eleanor, quietly eating a microwave turkey in the kitchen. And then I saw it. Taped to the fridge, a hastily scribbled note in my mother's handwriting. My stomach dropped as I read it. Spent your $10,000 loan on a family Caribbean cruise. Take care of Grandma. Back in 4 days. Love you. My $10,000 loan. My final semester. Gone. Grandma Eleanor looked at me, her face calm, but her eyes held a fire I hadn't seen in years. We will fix this, she said. I just nodded, numb. 4 days later they were begging. Growing up in Springfield, Missouri, we were what you'd call middle class, but our finances were a roller coaster. Dad, Harold, was in sales, so one month we'd be comfortable, the next, scraping by. Mom, Diane, a part-time receptionist, always seemed to spend more than she earned. My older brother Jacob, and younger sister Olivia, completed our chaotic little unit. And then there was Grandma Eleanor. After Grandpa passed when I was 10, she moved in, becoming the only steady, reliable presence in our home. She taught me about budgeting, saving, planning for rainy days, lessons my parents never quite absorbed. Our relationship was special. On nights when Mom and Dad argued about money, I'd sneak into her den. She'd tell me stories, help with homework. You have a good head on your shoulders, Rosie, she'd always say. You are going to break this cycle. And I tried. I really tried. After high school, I got into nursing school in Chicago. I worked multiple jobs, waiting tables, campus library, weekend shifts at a retirement home. Every single penny counted. This $10,000 loan? It was for my final semester, for clinicals, for certification exams. The finish line. I'd avoided debt for almost 4 years, but these final requirements were impossible to fund alone. This loan was my ticket to a stable future. My family had a history of financial, well, let's call it, forgetfulness. Dad once borrowed my first car, a beat-up Honda I'd saved for, and returned it with a busted transmission. Mom had emergencies that required loans she rarely repaid. Jacob borrowed textbook money, paid it back 3 months late after I'd already had to credit card my own. Olivia used my credit card for school supplies, that turned out to be concert tickets. Each time, I forgave them. They were family. Despite their flaws, I loved them. Grandma Eleanor would shake her head. Love doesn't mean being a doormat, Rosie. But I always made excuses. Christmas was sacred to me. Even in the leanest years, my parents made it magical. The house transformed. Mom's sugar cookies filled the air. Stress seemed distant. As an adult, I saved all year for thoughtful gifts. This year, I'd budgeted meticulously. An antique brooch for Mom. A rare first edition for Dad. High-end headphones for Jacob. A leather art portfolio for Olivia. For Grandma, a cashmere sweater and a digital frame of all our family photos. In the weeks leading up to the holiday, we talked. Nobody mentioned vacation plans. Mom was excited about a church cookie exchange. Dad complained about sales quotas. We discussed who would pick up Aunt Martha. Our tradition seemed secure. The drive from Chicago was usually 6 hours. I left at 5 a.m., a thermos of coffee, a Christmas playlist. Despite exhaustion from finals, excitement kept me alert. It had been months since we'd all been together. I craved that comfort of home, however imperfect. As I drove, watching the city turn to rural fields, I pictured it: Mom in the kitchen, Dad watching football, siblings arguing, Grandma knitting. The twinkling tree, the smell of pine. These thoughts carried me through traffic, gas station breaks, drive-through lunch. By the time I reached my hometown, the winter sun was setting. I was coming home. I just had no idea the home I remembered wouldn't be there. Turning onto Maple Street, I knew something was wrong. The neighbors had their usual displays. Our house? Dark. No reindeer, no wreath, no lights. I checked my phone. December 23rd. The decorations should have been up for weeks. Fewer cars, too. Just Dad's Buick. My stomach tightened. I pulled in, arms full of gifts and suitcases. The front walk wasn't shoveled. Dad was meticulous about that. I balanced packages, opened the front door. Hello? I'm home. My voice echoed in an undecorated living room. No tree, no garland, no nativity. The house smelled stale, with a faint hint of microwave food. In the kitchen, dear. Grandma Eleanor's voice. The only familiar thing. I dropped my bags. Found her at the kitchen table, a plate of microwaved turkey and stuffing. She was in her house dress, not a holiday outfit. Grandma, where is everyone? What happened to the decorations? The knot in my stomach tightened. Her face, lined with 82 years of life, held an expression I couldn't read. Somewhere between embarrassment and anger. Oh, Rosie, she said. I'm so sorry you came home to this. They left yesterday. Left? What did she mean, left? Where did they go? She gestured to the fridge with her fork. See for yourself. There it was. Under a Branson souvenir magnet. Mom's distinctive handwriting, complete with flower doodles. I pulled it off. Rosie, sweetie, last-minute amazing deal on a Caribbean cruise. Couldn't pass it up. Used your loan money. Hope you don't mind. Consider it our family Christmas gift. Taking care of bills when we return. Grandma couldn't manage the trip with her mobility issues, so please take care of her. Back in 4 days. Love you bunches. Mom, Dad, Jake, and Liv, hugs and kisses. I read it twice. Certain I'd misunderstood. The casual tone. The hearts dotting the I's. As if borrowing $10,000 without permission was like borrowing a sweater. I couldn't finish. Left yesterday afternoon, Grandma supplied, her voice tight. Right after they booked the last-minute cruise. Said they got an email about a cancellation deal, paid for it, packed, and were gone within 3 hours. They didn't even take down the Christmas decorations because they never put them up in the first place. I slumped against the refrigerator, the note crumpling in my hand. But my loan money, that was for my final semester. For my clinicals and certification. How could they just take it? You mentioned the money was coming through last week when you called. Grandma said quietly. Diane asked if you were still using the joint account your parents set up when you first went to college. The realization hit me like a physical blow. The account. Opened when I was 18. With them as co-signatories for emergencies. I'd never gotten around to removing them, using it mainly for student loans and larger expenses. My daily spending came from a separate account. They can't just take it. I whispered, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew they could. And they had. My phone buzzed. Numb fingers opened it. I'd been tagged in a family photo. There they were. All 4 of them. On a cruise ship deck. Wearing leis, holding tropical drinks. Surprise Christmas vacation. So blessed. Read Mom's caption, posted 30 minutes earlier. They didn't even take you. I said to Grandma, the betrayal deepening as I looked at her frail form. Doctors said my hip wouldn't handle the ship, and they didn't want to cancel their fun. She replied, a bitter, humorless smile. Your father said they'd bring me a souvenir. I felt physically ill. A wave of nausea. My legs felt weak. I grabbed the counter to steady myself. Rosie, sit down before you fall down, Grandma ordered. All business. I obeyed, automatically dropping into a kitchen chair. They stole from me. I whispered, still unable to fully process it. My own family stole from me. Yes, they did. Grandma agreed. No sugarcoating. To my surprise, she looked angry, not defensive. And we are going to deal with it. I barely heard her. My mind was racing through consequences. Without that money, I couldn't register for clinicals. No clinicals, no graduation. No graduation, no nursing license. 4 years of brutally hard work, sacrifice, derailed by an impulsive vacation. I need to see if they really took it all, I said, pulling out my phone with shaking hands. A few taps confirmed my worst fears. The account had been drained 3 days ago. A transfer of $9,876 to a travel agency. Every single penny. I tried calling each family member. Voicemail. Text messages showed as delivered but unread. Meanwhile, more vacation photos popped up online. Each one a fresh stab of betrayal. Let's look around, Grandma suggested. See what else we can find out. In the home office, we found cruise brochures, Caribbean travel guides, discarded luggage tags. In my parents' closet, empty hangers where summer clothes normally stored. In the trash, used boarding passes for the flight to Miami. Each discovery confirmed this was no misunderstanding, no emergency. It was a calculated decision. They planned this, I said, sinking onto my parents' bed. Maybe not long term, but once they saw the cruise deal, they deliberately used my money. Grandma sat beside me, her small hand covering mine. Your father has always wanted what he wants, when he wants it, she said softly. I failed him as a mother in that way. I should have taught him better. I shook my head, too numb to cry. This isn't your fault, Grandma. Perhaps not entirely, she conceded. But what matters now is what we do next. What we did next was call my financial aid office. Cheerful holiday voicemail, back January 3rd. Academic advisor? Same result. By then, reality had fully sunk in. And so had the first wave of desperate panic. I can't afford another loan, I said, pacing. I maxed out my eligibility with this one. Without this money, I can't finish school. You will finish, Grandma said firmly. We will figure this out. But in that moment, with the evidence of their betrayal surrounding me, my carefully constructed future in jeopardy, I couldn't see how. I carried my suitcases and the bags of now meaningless gifts to my childhood bedroom. It was exactly as I'd left it. Posters of nursing pioneers, textbooks, acceptance letters pinned to the corkboard. Sitting on the edge of my twin bed, surrounded by the relics of a younger, more trusting me, I finally broke down. The tears came in great heaving sobs, rising from the very center of my being. I cried for the betrayal. For the careless way they jeopardized my future. For the years of hard work now at risk. And for the devastating realization that the people who should protect me most had chosen to harm me for their temporary pleasure. A soft knock. Grandma Eleanor entered, carrying a steaming mug of chamomile tea. Her remedy for everything. She set it down, sat beside me, her small body barely making a dip in the mattress. She placed her gnarled hand on my back, moving it in slow circles, just like when I was a child with nightmares. Let it out, Rosie, she murmured. You've earned these tears. When the worst of the storm had passed, leaving me hiccuping and red-eyed, she handed me the tea and tissues. Now we talk, she said firmly. For the next 2 hours we did. Not just about the current situation, but about the pattern it represented. This isn't the first time, is it? Grandma asked, though it wasn't a question. No, I admitted, recalling incident after incident. When I was 16, I saved $800 from my library job for a laptop. Dad borrowed it for an investment opportunity. Never saw that money again. And your college fund? Grandma prompted. I grimaced. Mom and Dad started it when I was born. By the time I was ready for college, there was less than $3,000. They'd withdrawn the rest for vacations, a kitchen remodel, Jacob's car. Which is why you've worked so hard and taken so many jobs. Grandma nodded. And then there was my first car. I continued, the memories flooding back. I bought it myself, but Dad used it whenever he wanted. One time, he returned it with transmission problems that cost $2,000 to fix, more than I paid for the car. He promised to help with repairs, but never did. And your brother? I sighed. Jacob borrowed $500 for textbooks. His sophomore year. Promised to pay it back in 2 weeks. 3 months and dozens of reminders later, he finally did. But by then, I'd put my own textbooks on a credit card and was paying interest. And Olivia used my credit card for concert tickets and lied about it. Said it was for art supplies she needed for a project. Grandma nodded thoughtfully. Do you see the pattern, Rosie? I did. With a crystal clarity that had perhaps always been there, but that I had refused to acknowledge. They take advantage of me. They always have. And do you know something else? Grandma asked, rising with some difficulty to cross to my bookshelf. She returned with a photo album I'd made in high school. They do it to me, too. As we flipped through old family photos, Grandma revealed her own stories. How my father convinced her to sell her house and move in, promising a renovated den, only to use most of the proceeds from her home sale to pay off their credit card debt. How her Social Security checks sometimes, mysteriously, disappeared from her purse. How her jewelry had gradually gone missing over the years, including her wedding ring, during a particularly tight financial month. Why did you never say anything? I asked, shocked. Same reason as you, I expect, she said with a sad smile. Love. Shame. Hope that next time would be different. My phone buzzed again. More social media notifications. Photos of my family ziplining through a tropical forest, swimming with dolphins, a formal dinner at the captain's table. In each image, they beamed with carefree joy, seemingly without a thought for what they'd done, or how it would affect me. My messages remained unread. I can't believe they're just ignoring me, I said, tossing the phone aside in disgust. They know what they did was wrong, Grandma said firmly. Easier to pretend everything is fine than face the consequences. I spent the rest of the evening in a haze, making calls that went to voicemail, sending emails that received auto-replies about holiday closures, calculating and recalculating my finances to find a solution that didn't exist. Without that loan money, I was nearly $5,000 short. Even after emptying my meager savings account. Sleep was impossible. I lay awake, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd arranged inaccurately on my ceiling at age 12. My mind raced with fearful thoughts. Would I have to drop out so close to graduation? Take a semester off, losing my spot in clinicals? Beg the school for emergency assistance? Every option seemed impossible or humiliating. Sometime after midnight, I heard Grandma on the phone in the hallway. Her voice, uncharacteristically sharp. Harold James Wilson, you answer this phone right now. I know the ship has service. A pause. No, I will not call back tomorrow. You put Diane on, too. I want you both to hear this. Another pause. What you have done to Rosalind is despicable, and there will be consequences when you return. Her voice dropped too low for me to hear the rest. Eventually, exhaustion claimed me. I fell into troubled dreams where I was drowning in an ocean of student loan paperwork while my family sailed by on a luxury cruise ship, waving and laughing as I called for help. Morning brought no relief. I woke to the stark realization I had precisely 15 days to come up with nearly $10,000, or my nursing degree, and the stable future it promised would be delayed at best, lost at worst. With robotic movements, I showered and dressed, then made my way downstairs. The sound of activity in the kitchen. Grandma was already up. You look like you've been hit by a truck, she observed bluntly as I entered. Feel like it too, I mumbled, reaching for the coffee pot. Sit, she commanded. I've been thinking. I obeyed, too emotionally drained to do otherwise. The numbness of shock had settled over me, a strange calm after yesterday's storm. I felt hollow, scraped out, disconnected from the bright, ambitious nursing student who had driven home just 24 hours earlier. Grandma placed a plate of scrambled eggs and toast before me. Eat while I talk, she instructed. You'll need your strength. I woke the next morning to the aroma of coffee and something sweet baking. For a blissful moment, I forgot everything, thinking perhaps it had all been a bad dream. Then reality crashed back. The hollow feeling returned. Dragging myself out of bed, I found Grandma Eleanor already dressed in one of her nice pantsuits, white hair neatly styled, makeup applied. She sat at the kitchen table surrounded by notebooks, my laptop open. A plate of fresh cinnamon rolls cooled on the counter. You're up, she noted, without looking away from the screen. Coffee is fresh. Grab some and join me. I poured a mug of coffee, took a cinnamon roll, though I had little appetite. You seem energized, I commented, taking in her unusual morning efficiency. I am, she confirmed, finally looking up. Her eyes, behind reading glasses, were clear and determined. I was up at 5. Planning. Planning what? Operation Consequence. She replied with grim satisfaction, turning the laptop toward me. To my surprise, she had created a detailed spreadsheet with multiple tabs. I know this comes as a shock, but your grandmother is not entirely technologically inept. I've been taking classes at the community center for years. I can see that, I said, impressed despite my exhaustion. What is all this? This, my dear, is how we are going to fix the mess your family created. She pointed to the screen. First tab is financial options. Second is legal considerations. Third is a timeline of action items. Fourth is a list of resources and contacts. I blinked at her efficiency. Grandma, I appreciate this, but I'm not sure there's a solution. I've called everyone I can think of, and with the holidays. There is always a solution, she interrupted firmly. It may not be easy or comfortable, but there is always a way forward. She proceeded to outline her strategy. First, she revealed she had a modest savings account, kept secret from my parents. Not a fortune, mind you, she clarified, but enough to temporarily cover your tuition needs if we can't recover the money in time. Grandma, no! I protested immediately. That's your retirement money. I can't take that. You are not taking it, she corrected. I am lending it to you, with proper documentation. And your family will be repaying me every penny, with interest. The steel in her voice made it clear this was non-negotiable. Besides, she continued more gently, what good is saving for my future if I can't help secure yours? You are the only one in this family who has shown real responsibility and ambition. My investment in you is the safest one I could make. Tears threatened again, but of a different kind. I don't know what to say. Say you will stop being a doormat, she replied bluntly. Love without limits creates monsters, Rosie. I learned that too late with your father. You have a chance to learn it now. Over the next hour, she shared her own story in more detail than I'd ever heard. How she enabled my father's poor financial habits from childhood, giving in, making excuses, cleaning up his messes. How my grandfather had warned her they were creating an entitled adult, but she hadn't listened. How she watched the pattern repeat with my siblings. Your mother is no better, she added. Diane has champagne tastes on a beer budget. Always has. They enable each other's worst tendencies. But what can we do now? I asked. Even if we secure my tuition, they still took my money. That brings us to phase 2. Grandma said, flipping to another tab. Practical consequences. Her plan was comprehensive. They'd left numerous loose ends in their hasty departure, all house keys but not the security code, a nearly empty fridge, unpaid bills, no mail arrangements. They assumed you would handle everything, Grandma observed. As you always have. Her Operation Consequence addressed it all. She'd researched legal implications of unauthorized student loan use. She'd called the cruise line, pretending to be my mother, confirming return arrangements. She'd contacted her friend Terry, a retired attorney, for advice on drafting a repayment agreement. We need to be ready when they return, she explained. No emotional scenes, no accusations they can dismiss. Just calm, firm consequences with no wiggle room. The plan unfolded with military precision. First, a locksmith to change all exterior locks. They took the keys but left us behind, Grandma reasoned. Clearly, they forfeit entry privileges without our approval. Next, an inventory of valuables to secure. Not that I think they'd sell family heirlooms, Grandma said, but better safe than sorry, given their current behavior. She'd already started documenting everything: the empty student loan account, the crew's social media posts, the note they left. Rosie, she said seriously, as we reviewed her plans, the most important thing is that you are prepared to hold firm. They will cry, they will yell, they will try to make you feel guilty. They will say you are overreacting or that it was just a misunderstanding. They will promise to pay you back someday, when it's convenient for them. I nodded, knowing she was right. And you need to be ready to say no. To say that their behavior has consequences, and those consequences are immediate and non-negotiable. What if I can't? I whispered, voicing my deepest fear. What if I give in like I always do? Grandma took my hands, her paper-thin skin covering surprisingly strong fingers. You can and you will. Because this time, you are not alone. I will be right beside you. And I have 82 years of practice at being stubborn. That made me smile, faintly. Besides, she added with a twinkle in her eye, I have backup. That backup, it turned out, was an impressive network of Eleanor's friends. Terry, the retired lawyer, was helping draft a legally binding repayment agreement. Martin, a retired locksmith, offered discounted services. Her bridge club friends volunteered to be present during the confrontation as witnesses and moral support. Elderly does not mean powerless, she informed me with dignity. With renewed purpose, I joined her. I called my school's financial aid emergency line. They couldn't process anything until after the holiday, but I documented the situation. I secured our important documents in a safe deposit box at Grandma's bank. I helped move valuable or sentimental items to Eleanor's sister's house nearby. By evening, we had changed the locks, secured valuables, documented the financial theft, and drafted the repayment agreement. Now for the most difficult part, Grandma said as we sat down to a simple dinner. Emotional preparation. She was right. The practical tasks had been straightforward, but confronting my family, standing firm against their manipulations and guilt trips, filled me with anxiety. They'll say I'm being selfish, I said, pushing food around my plate. That they deserve a vacation after working so hard. That I'm making a big deal out of nothing. And what will you say? Grandma prompted. I took a deep breath. That taking my money without permission was wrong. That actions have consequences. That I need the money back immediately, or a signed agreement for repayment. And if they refuse? The question hung in the air. What would I do if they refused? The answer came more easily than I expected. Then I'll file a police report for theft and contact the school to report fraudulent use of student loan funds. Grandma nodded approvingly. It won't come to that. They are irresponsible, not stupid. But they need to know you are serious. I am serious, I said, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. This is my future. This is my life. I've worked too hard to let them take it away for a vacation. That's my girl, Grandma said with a proud smile. Now let us practice what you will say when they try to make you feel guilty. We spent the evening role-playing. Grandma, displaying unexpected acting talent, took turns playing my father's blustering authority, my mother's tearful manipulations, and my siblings' varied approaches to deflecting responsibility. With each practice round, my responses grew more confident, my resolve stronger. By the time we went to bed, I felt prepared in a way I never had before. "Remember," Grandma said as we parted, "you are not just doing this for yourself. You are doing it for them, too. Real love means setting boundaries. Without consequences, they will never change." As I lay in bed, I reflected on how much had changed in 2 days. I'd arrived home excited for Christmas and found betrayal. But I'd also discovered a strength in myself I hadn't known existed, and an ally in Grandma Eleanor I'd always taken for granted. Tomorrow would bring more preparations. The day after, my family would return. And nothing would ever be the same again. Day 1 of our plan dawned cold and clear. Grandma and I ate breakfast early, reviewing our timeline. "The locksmith will be here at 9, she reminded me, checking her neat schedule. "Martin is giving us his first appointment. And Terry is coming at 11 to finalize the repayment agreement," I added, feeling a strange calm replace yesterday's anxiety. Having a concrete plan made everything manageable. Martin arrived promptly, a spry man in his 70s with calloused hands. "Eleanor filled me in," he said. "Terrible thing, family taking advantage like that. Happened to my nephew, too." In under 2 hours, he changed all the exterior locks and installed a new electronic keypad on the front door. "Temporary code for now," he explained, showing me how to change it. "After your family makes amends, you can decide who gets permanent access." The symbolism wasn't lost on me. For the first time, I would control who entered this space. After Martin left, Grandma and I carefully documented the house with photos and video, the undecorated rooms, the nearly empty fridge, the unpaid bills. All captured for the record. Terry arrived next, a distinguished woman in her 60s with silver hair and a no-nonsense attitude. "Eleanor explained the situation," she said, declining coffee. "Let's get straight to business." The repayment agreement she drafted was comprehensive. It outlined the unauthorized withdrawal of $9,876, a repayment schedule with modest interest, and consequences for missed payments, including possible legal action. "This is just a starting point for negotiation," Terry explained. "But you begin from a position of strength. They took advantage of you, not the other way around." After Terry left, we focused on practical preparations. We went grocery shopping, stocking the fridge with basics. We collected mail and paid urgent bills, keeping careful records to add to the repayment total. "Add it to their tab," Grandma said grimly as we wrote a check for the overdue electric bill. By evening, we had secured the house, documented everything, and prepared the formal paperwork. I felt a growing confidence, like putting on armor piece by piece. "Good work today," Grandma said. "Tomorrow we focus on contingency planning." Day 2 brought new challenges. My mother posted more cruise photos, including one captioned, "Best family vacation ever! So grateful for this time together." The casual cruelty of excluding Grandma and me, while using my money, stung anew. More worrying, my bank notified me of attempted credit card charges from the cruise ship gift shop. Declined due to insufficient available credit, but the attempt indicated they were now trying to use my credit card. "Unbelievable," I said, showing Grandma the notification. "They steal $10,000 and then try to charge more? Entitlement breeds entitlement," she replied, unsurprised. "Call the card company and report potential fraud." I did, explaining the situation to a sympathetic customer service rep who placed a temporary freeze on the card. The rest of the day was devoted to organizing our documentation into clearly labeled folders and preparing for potential outcomes. Grandma's friend Beth, a retired social worker, came over to help us practice handling emotional confrontations. "They'll try to push your buttons," she warned. "They know exactly which ones work because they installed them." We role-played more scenarios, with Beth channeling my mother perfectly, all tearful accusations and guilt-tripping. "After all we have sacrificed for you," she wailed. "This is how you repay us? By changing the locks on our own home?" Each time, I practiced responding calmly but firmly. "This is not about past sacrifices. This is about the $10,000 taken from my account without permission. We can discuss access to the house after we resolve the financial issue. By evening, I felt emotionally stronger, though anxiety still churned beneath the surface. Checking the cruise tracking website, we confirmed the ship was on schedule to return to Miami the day after tomorrow. Almost time, Grandma said, squeezing my hand. Day 3 focused on final preparations and contingency planning. What if they refused to sign? What if they made a scene involving neighbors or police? What if they simply walked away? For each scenario, we developed a response. Legal options were documented. A rental car was reserved in case we needed to leave quickly. Support people were confirmed for the confrontation. Remember, Grandma said, we are not doing this to punish them. We are doing this to establish boundaries and consequences. I nodded. Though a part of me did want to punish them for their casual betrayal, for the thoughtless way they'd risked my future, for leaving Grandma behind. That evening, a text finally arrived from my mother. Having the most amazing time, flying home tomorrow, slight emergency with your father's work. See you around dinner time. Can't wait to tell you all about it. Love you. No mention of my money. No acknowledgement. No apology. And so it begins, Grandma said when I showed her the text. The pretense that everything is normal. I didn't reply. Day 4 dawned with a light snow falling, adding to the surreal quality of the situation. This should have been Christmas morning, family gathered around a tree. Instead, Grandma and I sat at the kitchen table, drinking coffee, watching the clock. Tracking info showed their flight landed. A text from my sister confirmed they'd collected luggage and were in a rideshare heading home. Grandma's friends began arriving. Terry with her legal paperwork. Beth with her social work experience. Martin, just in case there were issues with the locks. 3 members of the Bridge Club as additional witnesses. They gathered in the living room, a gray-haired army of support. Thank you all for coming, I said, touched by their presence. We take care of our own, Terry replied simply. Eleanor has been there for each of us at some point. A notification from the home security system. A car pulled into the driveway. Through the front window, I watched my family emerge, sunburned and laden with souvenirs, laughing as they gathered their luggage. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. Grandma came to stand beside me, her small hand finding mine. Remember who you are, she said quietly. Remember what you deserve. I nodded, squeezing her hand as the doorbell rang. It was time. The doorbell rang again, more insistently. I took a deep breath, exchanged a final glance with Grandma, and moved to the front window, not the door. Pulling back the curtain slightly, I saw them on the porch. My father already reaching for his keys. Rosie! My mother called, spotting me. We're home. Open up! It's freezing out here. I pressed the intercom button on the new security system. I can see that, I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. Why are your keys not working? My father's face appeared at the window, confused then angry. What the hell? Did you change the locks? Yes, I confirmed simply. We need to talk before you come in. This is ridiculous, he sputtered, his face reddening beneath his fresh tan. It's 20 degrees out here and we've been traveling all day. Let us in right now. We can talk through the doorbell camera, I said, nodding to Grandma, who activated the device. Or you can agree to a calm conversation about what happened with my student loan money. Their faces on the small screen showed a range of emotions. My father looked outraged, my mother confused, Jacob embarrassed, and Olivia increasingly concerned. What are you talking about? My mother asked, though her eyes darted away. We just need to get inside. We can discuss whatever is bothering you then. I am talking about the $10,000 you took from my account without permission, I said clearly. The money that was for my final semester of nursing school. The money you spent on a cruise without even asking me. A moment of silence. My father recovered first. Now listen here, he began, his sales pitch voice activated. We didn't steal anything. That was a family account, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a last-minute cancellation. We deserved a vacation after everything we've been through this year. That doesn't explain why you didn't ask me first, I replied. Or why you left Grandma alone without proper care. Mom was fine, my mother interjected quickly. And we were going to pay you back, of course. We just needed to enjoy the holidays first. With my money, I added. Money I needed for school. My mother's expression turned pleading. Sweetie, you're making this into something it's not. We're family. We share things. Now please let us in before we freeze. Grandma stepped up beside me. There will be conditions for entry, she announced firmly. My father's face darkened. Mom, you're behind this. This is between us and Rosalind. You left me here too, Harold, Grandma reminded him. With no discussion, no proper arrangements. Just a note telling Rosalind to take care of me as if I'm a houseplant. We knew Rosie would be here, my mother said defensively. And the ship wasn't accessible for someone with your mobility issues. Convenient, Grandma replied dryly. My siblings had remained silent, but now Jacob stepped forward. This is stupid. It's our house too. You can't keep us out. Actually, we can, I replied. And we will, until we have discussed the repayment of my money. Repayment? My mother echoed, as if the concept was entirely new. Honey, of course we'll pay you back eventually. When things settle down. When? I pressed. How? With what money? The uncomfortable shifting and avoided gazes told me everything. There was no plan. There never had been. Here's what is going to happen, I said, channeling Grandma's calm authority. We have prepared a repayment agreement. You will review and sign it. Then we can discuss entry to the house. This is insane, my father exploded. You can't treat your family like this. After everything we've done for you. Something inside me hardened at his words. What exactly have you done for me, Dad? Taken my college fund? Borrowed my car and returned it broken? Used my student loan for a vacation while I worked 3 jobs to put myself through school? His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. By now, a few neighbors had noticed the commotion. The Patels were openly watching. The Henderson children pressed their faces to their window. Perhaps we should continue this conversation more privately, my mother suggested, her social embarrassment overriding everything else. I agree, I said. There's a coffee shop 3 blocks away. We can meet there in 15 minutes to discuss the agreement. In this weather? With all our luggage? My father protested. Your choice, I replied with a shrug. Public discussion on the porch with the neighbors watching, or private discussion at the coffee shop. They huddled together, whispering urgently. Finally, my mother turned back to the camera. Fine. The coffee shop. But only you, Rosalind, not your grandmother's friends. She'd spotted Terry through the window. Non-negotiable, I replied. Terry comes with me, as does Grandma. The others will wait here. More whispers, then reluctant agreement. They trudged back to their rideshare. 15 minutes later, we sat in the back corner of Magnolia Coffee, decorated for Christmas. The contrast between the festive atmosphere and our tense faces was stark. Terry placed a folder on the table. This is a legally binding repayment agreement, she explained in her crisp, professional voice. It outlines the unauthorized withdrawal of $9,876 from Rosalind's account and establishes a schedule for repayment. My father didn't even reach for it. This is ridiculous. We don't need lawyers and contracts. We're family. Family does not steal from family. Grandma replied simply. We didn't steal, my mother insisted, her voice rising, then quickly lowering as a barista glanced our way. It was a misunderstanding. What part was misunderstood? I asked quietly. The part where you knew it was my student loan money? The part where you didn't ask permission? The part where you knew I needed it for school? No one answered directly. Look, Jacob finally said. What's done is done. The money is spent. We can't magically give it back right now. Which is why there is a repayment plan. Terry interjected, tapping the folder. Starting with an immediate payment of $1,000 from your return flight refunds. My head snapped up. What return flight refunds? A guilty look passed between my parents. We had to change our return flights. My mother admitted. The original ones were for December 27th, but your father had a work emergency. So you have refunds coming, Grandma concluded, which will go directly to Rosalind. More uncomfortable shifting. My father finally picked up the agreement, his frown deepening. These terms are ridiculous. There's no way we can pay back this much this quickly. Then Rosalind will have no choice but to pursue other options, Terry said calmly, including reporting the unauthorized use of student loan funds, which I understand can trigger investigations by both the school and the lending institution. My mother paled. You wouldn't do that to your own family. I didn't want to, I said honestly. I wanted to come home for Christmas, spend time with my family, and go back to school to finish my degree. You are the ones who changed the plan, not me. For the first time, Olivia spoke up. Mom, Dad, she's right. We took her money without asking. That was wrong. My sister's unexpected support created a shift. My mother's defiance crumbled slightly. My father looked less certain. At minimum, Terry continued, the credit card charges attempted from the cruise ship gift shop need to be addressed. What credit card charges? My father asked sharply, looking at my mother. She had the grace to look embarrassed. I may have tried to use Rosie's card for a few souvenirs. I thought it would be fine. After taking $10,000, you tried to charge more? Grandma asked incredulously. The conversation continued in this vein for nearly an hour. My parents cycled through denial, anger, minimizing, and blame shifting. Jacob largely supported them, while Olivia became increasingly uncomfortable, occasionally offering quiet support for my position. Outside, the light snow continued to fall. Inside, the ice between us slowly began to crack. What happens if we don't sign? My father finally asked, pushing the agreement away. Then you don't enter the house, I said simply. And I pursue legal options for recovering the money. You'd make your own family homeless at Christmas? My mother asked, tears finally appearing. You would steal your daughter's education money for a cruise, Grandma countered. The stalemate stretched on. Terry checked her watch. I have another appointment in 30 minutes, she said. So, a decision needs to be made. My father stared at me, perhaps seeing me clearly for the first time. Not as his compliant daughter who would eventually give in, but as a woman standing her ground. We can't pay it all back immediately, he finally said, his voice less combative. The agreement does not require that, I pointed out. It requires good faith, immediate payment of what you can, and a structured plan for the rest. After another tense silence, my mother reached for the agreement. We will sign, she said quietly. But I want it noted that we were always going to pay you back. This formal approach was unnecessary. I bit back a retort, recognizing the small victory. One by one, they signed the document, my father last, and with visible reluctance. Now, can we go home? Jacob asked sullenly. Yes, I said, gathering the signed papers. But things will be different. As we walked back through the snow-covered streets, I explained the new household rules. They would have temporary entry codes, not permanent ones. Financial responsibilities would be clearly documented and shared. Grandma's Social Security checks would be deposited directly to her personal account, not handled by my parents. This feels like punishment, my mother complained. This feels like consequences. I corrected her. There's a difference. When we reached the house, Grandma's friends had departed, except for Martin, who waited to explain the new security system. My family entered their changed home environment with subdued expressions, taking in the absence of Christmas decorations, the practical groceries rather than holiday treats, the neatly organized bills awaiting payment. Welcome home, I said, feeling the weight of change settle over us all. The first night was tense, to say the least. My parents retreated to their bedroom early, the weight of consequences visibly heavy. Jacob alternated between sullen silence and flat jokes. Only Olivia made genuine efforts to repair the damage, helping me prepare a simple dinner, asking thoughtful questions about my final semester. Grandma Eleanor maintained her position as moral compass and mediator, firm but not punitive. This is not about making anyone suffer, she reminded me privately as we washed dishes. It is about creating change. Over the next week, the patterns established during our confrontation continued to play out. My parents initially resisted the new financial accountability, complaining about the detailed expense tracking and shared bill payments. My father attempted to reassert control several times, making unilateral decisions, then acting surprised when I challenged them. I am the head of this household, he declared during one heated discussion about the electricity bill. And I am the one holding you accountable, I countered. The agreement you signed requires financial transparency. Gradually, the resistance faded. The signed repayment agreement hung on the refrigerator as a constant reminder. The first payment, drawn from their flight refunds and supplemented by the sale of some cruise souvenirs, was transferred to my account. Documented. Grandma's temporary loan covered my immediate school expenses, and I registered for my clinicals on time. The relief, knowing my education would continue, allowed me to focus on the longer-term healing our family needed. 2 weeks after their return, I went back to Chicago. The distance provided perspective. Weekly video calls included financial updates, with my parents reporting on their progress toward repayment. My father took on weekend consulting work. My mother reduced her shopping, started selling and used household items online. The most surprising development came from my siblings. Jacob, after initial resistance, underwent a transformation. During one video call, he showed me his new budgeting app and shared that he'd taken on additional shifts at his recording studio job. I never realized how much you were carrying for all of us, he admitted awkwardly. It wasn't fair. Olivia went even further, calling me privately to apologize. I was part of it too, she said. Taking advantage of you, I mean. I just never saw it that way until now. Until I saw how hard you fought for yourself. These conversations weren't easy. Years of established patterns don't change overnight. There were setbacks, Mom borrowing from the repayment fund for a department store sale, Dad questioning if full repayment was necessary, since I was doing fine. Each time, I held firm to the boundaries we had established. Each time, it became a little easier. Grandma Eleanor, true to her word, moved part-time to Chicago after I graduated, renting a small apartment near my new job at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Her presence helped me maintain my newfound strength and provided a buffer as my relationship with my parents slowly healed, on more equal footing. The following Christmas was dramatically different. Instead of elaborate gift exchanges funded by credit card debt, we agreed on modest, thoughtful presents. My parents hosted a small dinner rather than an extravagant party. Most importantly, they had repaid nearly half of what they had taken, making consistent monthly payments, even when it required sacrifices. The lessons I learned from that terrible Christmas and its aftermath transformed me in ways I never anticipated. I discovered my own strength and worth. I learned that real love includes boundaries and accountability. I realized that allowing people to experience the consequences of their actions is sometimes the greatest gift you can give them. As a nurse, these lessons proved invaluable. I brought new empathy to patients struggling with difficult family dynamics. I recognized enabling behaviors and could gently guide people toward healthier boundaries. I understood, from personal experience, that healing often begins with painful truth. My relationship with my family will never be what it was before. The blind trust is gone, replaced by something more cautious, but ultimately more genuine. My parents still struggle with financial responsibility, but now they do so openly, asking for guidance rather than taking advantage. My siblings have become allies rather than competitors for resources. And Grandma Eleanor, at 84, continues to demonstrate that it is never too late to change family patterns. Her courage in standing with me and acknowledging her own role in creating my father's sense of entitlement remains one of the greatest acts of love I have ever witnessed. Sometimes the most valuable Christmas gift is not found under a tree or on a cruise ship. Sometimes it comes in the form of difficult conversations, painful growth, and the courage to say no more to those we love most. That terrible note on the refrigerator led to the most important journey of my life. Not across the Caribbean, but across the much more challenging terrain of self-worth and family healing. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who took advantage of you? What would you have done in my place? Tell me what you think, I really want to know.